Hey, welcome to the channel today. Today I got Tim Graves, my brother, back out. We're going to talk short game technique. Welcome to the channel. So there's no better feeling knowing that when you wake up in the morning to go play golf, so that you're going to play well. There's no better feeling of hitting good golf shots down the fairway. So my mission today is to help as many people as possible wake up every day feeling good that they're going to go out there and play great because of the single plane swing. Hey, welcome to the channel today. I have my brother Tim Graves, who I consider probably the best person to ever learn short game from. His short game is incredible. The academy teaching of the short game at Graves Golf is incredible. Tim designed all the short game at Graves Golf. I got him out here today, and I want to talk not so much about what we did in the last video, which is really about creating shots and the bump and run. I want Tim to explain why we teach our method, which is our technique, and why we have a model for our short game technique. So thanks, Tim, for joining me again. We have a trainer right here. I don't want to discuss the trainer yet, but kind of explain, you know, last time in the last segment we shot, we were talking just about more of creating the shot, that bump and run. Explain, because one of the mistakes I see people make, and I know you see it more than I do, is people just kind of square up to a chip and try to chip it kind of like they're just too square, and we open the body. There's certain things we do that you teach in our short game technique. Walk us through how we get the hands down the line, why the ball's back in the stance, all the things that you go through. What's the model of chipping a golf ball?
The biggest thing when we talk about chipping or pitching or any part of the short game, putting, chipping, or pitching, the biggest thing is hands towards the target, hands down the line. And you know, as Mo discussed with you a lot and so on, he always said, I'm trying to pull the flag out of the hole with my hands. In fact, I remember many demos, he said, I'm the only guy who throws my hands towards the target, everybody else throws it away. Well, you got to do the same thing in the short game. Because remember, in the short game, there's not enough time for this ball to spin. In the long game, let's say you pull a shot and it spins back and it slices back in the fairway, you're hooking back in the fairway. In the short game, you're going to pull it, you're going to push it. If your hands are going towards the target, you got problems. And the biggest thing that golfers make is that the beauty of what we teach is we keep that face square longer than anybody. Because if our hands are going towards the target, our face just got square up to those hands. Well, if your hands are going away from the target, you got to open the face to compensate, or you got to close the face to compensate. We don't have any compensations. We literally are going to get our hands towards that target with a square club face as long as possible. And that's what we teach. So the way everything we've designed around the short game, we'll do a chipping session here, is designed around getting those hands towards the target. Now, the next step on that is it's all about the shoulders, because our hands are going to follow those shoulders. Remember, the hands are connected to the arms are connected to the shoulders. So if my shoulders open up, where are my hands going to go? If my shoulders get closed, where are my hands going to go? So we're going to focus on those shoulders. So the whole thing about a chip, and the whole thing we're going to set up, and the template we're going to do here, is we're going to allow the shoulders to stay as square as long as possible, and we're going to work through that. And then we're going to allow our arms to clear and get our hands down the target line. Okay, so that's what we set up here. And so as you set up over a chip, the first thing, and I'll talk about what we promote and then also talk about the air we see. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up over a chip, and we're going to have our feet, our knees, and our hips open. Okay, so our lower body is open. And the reason we want it open, remember, we always talk and we teach in the whys, the reason we want it open is because getting the lower body open allows the elbow to clear across the body. Remember, in your full swing, when you make impact, your lower body's turning, right? I mean, it's turning, feet open. Well, that allows the elbow to clear the body. Well, in a chip,
you don't have time.
We don't have time. We're turning a little bit. So I don't want anybody out there to think that this isn't staying dead still. It's one of the biggest mistakes golfers make is they don't move the lower body. We're definitely moving, but we're not moving as much as a full swing.
It's like you're presetting the hips open already.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're presetting them open, and we're flexing these a little bit, just almost like impact. Now we're going to turn, but we're getting it open that allows the elbow to clear. So that's mistake number one, is guys don't get the lower body open. Mistake number two is they get too close to the golf ball. Now, young golfers, you watch the guys on TV that have a 29-inch waist or 30-inch waist, which isn't any of us anymore, they can get on top of the ball and they can still clear that body. When you start getting a little bit in front of you here, when you start having stuff in front of you, you got to get away from the golf ball so you can clear that body. Because the second that you get too much in front of you and you get too close to the golf ball, it's going to bump your hands out. And as it bumps your elbow and your hands out, now your hands aren't going towards the target and you're leading with the heel of the club. There's your shank, there's your skull, there's your, your push to the right. So we're going to get far enough away from the golf ball that we can clear those hands and clear the elbow across the body. Okay? So lower body's open, upper body's square.
So set up first, I want to stand in front of you. I'm just going to look at a couple things. So feet are obviously opened up here.
Right.
Hips are opened up here. and then shoulders are more down the line.
Right.
Yep.
So if you look at the template of the short game board, my shoulders line up with the top of the board, my feet, my knees, my hips line up with the lower part of the board.
Yeah.
And
Now tell me about the feet, because we always see people just too squared up.
Well, here's the biggest thing on the feet. People think, so let's say this is basically square.
Yep.
And so people will say that's open, but it's not. No, and here's the point. And I do this at our schools, everyone at our schools. Watch this on my board. So this is even with the top of that board, that's square to my target, but I want it open. Well, I'm going to back this foot up 45 degrees. It didn't do anything to my hips.
Right.
It did absolutely nothing. In fact, I can go even further. It did nothing to my hips. Notice, I'm trying to get the hips open. The feet are important, but it's just a precursor for the hips. So now I take my lead foot, I drop it, and I twist.
Okay.
So if I don't twist, I don't get the feet open.
Got it.
Now, I could get square and twist, but that doesn't help enough.
Right.
So I'm going to drop the foot back and twist. That's why we put the feet on the board, those little feet in the board.
Yeah.
We match those up.
Yeah.
That's what gets the feet open, okay, or gets the feet,
So
knees, and hips open.
Turn the feet. Yeah.
Right, turn the feet. Now I get far enough from the golf ball that I can clear that elbow across the body.
Now, you always talk about, do it one more time, you always talk about the back of this hand. Tell me about the back of the hand. Like, go make that little motion again past it and hold there. See how your back of the hand and like your watch face and the club face are square down the line?
Exactly.
And you hold that.
Hold it.
We don't see people hold that enough.
Right.
Like they sit there, they flip their hands. Yeah.
Because see, what I'm trying to do, so right now, all I've done so far, talking to you so far, is I've got the lower body open, everybody's square, the ball position's back. I'm giving myself a chance to hit a good chip.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a good setup for a good chip now.
Which, by the way, I just want to make a point. At Graves Golf, from the single plane address,
Absolutely.
you developed a product called Two Birds with One Stone,
Right.
which basically reflects on the fact that the short game is so similar to the long game because we're giving people the absolute best chance from the address all the way into their short game, into their long game. It's all the same sequence of how you set up.
And when you talk about Mo in the single plane, and even when you shot the short game video with Mo in the short game, in the part you shot with Mo, he talked about the hands towards the target. He talked about going down the line the longest. He always talked about that.
And by the way, I just want to say something. When we watch Mo do clinics together, what's the first thing that Mo talked about in the clinic? Wedge game.
Wedge game.
Wedge game. I mean, he didn't start out just panning drivers.
Right. Wedge
it was
game.
always most important club in the bag, most important club in the bag, folks. People skip that part about Mo, but they should. He basically said, "This is your savior. This is your savior, the wedge." And then he'd go hit drivers and stuff, but he knew, even Mo, the greatest ball striker that I've ever seen, he knew that the wedge was just the
100%.
savior.
Well, but the other thing is that if your wedge game's good and you just build it up to the driver, Mo felt like he swung underneath him with the wedge, he swung underneath him with the driver. He felt the same thing.
Same thing.
He just had the clubs longer, stand a little further away from it, so he felt the same thing. Too many people look at the wedge game as one part of the game, the mid part of the game, the long part. It's the same part of the game. That's why we created the Two Birds with One Stone. To show that it all relates strictly together. It's all relates together. I mean, if you can't get your hands on line with the wedge or a chip, there's no way in this earth you can get your hands on line with a driver or a long iron or a hybrid. There's no way. Because as you magnify it up, the airs are just going to magnify.
Show me how much, talk to me about hand hinge. Like, how much hand action do you feel? Because I know you're pretty firm on the way through your chip. But tell me about the backswing.
Well, as you take it back now on a short little chip, and I know the flag's up there maybe 30 feet, and it's maybe 50-50, chip versus roll. I'm going to hit one halfway there. So if I hit one halfway there, I'm just going to go soft and back. There's not a lot of hand hinge. Okay, so I'm going back, there's not a lot. Now, I do feel a little bit, but you won't see it on camera.
You don't need much speed.
Need a lot of speed. Now, it's a lot of speed. Now, as the shot gets longer, so we'll go towards this flag now, as the shot gets longer, we start hinging the toe up. And the whole point is here, you don't want to keep the club face down or closed because now you're going to toe dig.
No angle.
It's not the way the club works. So as we go back, we start folding the trail arm slightly and we start hinging the hands. And it's not position one, position two, it's a lot quicker. In our single plane, we teach a position one, a position two. Position one here is about there. It's much shorter because the ball's already back and it's a short swing. So once I get short back, I start hinging up pretty fast.
So explain. So do it again because I see the club moving inside, which same as our swing, but
follows the shoulders.
Follows the shoulders.
And this is the problem. And notice and now the shoulders turn because the knees turn. So
you're not manipulating it. You're just turning.
The mistake the golfers make is they say dead still and the club goes outside. Well, now you come across it, you're leading with the heel and you're going to shank it or pull it. So we're actually letting the club go in and turn a little bit.
Here's what I always find fascinating. So that camera down there can see this. Go there, say, people watch this. So if I put this shaft down your target line, right? That shaft is going straight back, even though the club goes in. I always find that fascinating.
It's going straight back.
Because to me, that's straight back, right?
But it's not doing this.
It's not doing that.
Yeah, right. It's going straight. It's following my shoulders.
It's following your shoulders.
Following my shoulders.
So we're not trying to, see, too many people try to manipulate the head of the club.
They try to
manipulate head. And what Tim's doing is he's locking this in and he's following the shoulders like this.
That's why.
Then to hit longer, he's adding a little bit of hand motion.
That's why you got to turn the body. This is because, notice, if I don't move the knees, the shoulders are basically going to rock. It's a putt. I want the club to come in, so I got to rock, move the knees a little bit.
So what we teach in single plane is obviously the pivot point relationship, right? This lead side relationship. Well, it's maintained through this.
Yeah, it is.
It's saying the same thing, right
now,
in that relationship.
It'll be a little bit below the pivot point because we're choking down.
Yeah, choking down.
But that makes up for the club, the lie of the club. But it's still maintaining
it's still
the
at
lead
that
side.
angle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the shaft lean. You're maintaining that lead side.
So the shaft lean again, because this is where I think those of you that flip it, chunk it, skull it,
right,
you're not getting what Tim, if you look at Tim here, he has that shaft leaning straight back. It's de-lofting the club, and now he's going to use that angle.
And then I take it back and I use that angle I use that angle through. In fact, I will tell you, I might even increase that angle a little bit.
But you don't necessarily try to hit down on it either.
No,
you just keep the angle.
I'm hitting the angle. In fact, I'm getting the hands lead and hold that.
See, people always say, do you hit down on it? I'm like, no, the angle hits down on it. Yeah.
And the other thing is I turn back and let this elbow fold a little bit, this club's coming up.
Up, yeah.
I'm not staying shallow.
Ah, yeah.
Well, we've got a tight lie here, which is going to help. Let's say a little bit of grass.
That's a different shot. That's a different shot.
Right, but it's an angle down to the ball. Well, on a real tight lie, you got to have the same angle.
Angle, yeah.
It creates a spin. So as I turn back, it creates the angle. Now I can angle of attack down.
Nice.
And so the other thing it does is that as you hold that shaft lean through, look what it does to the club face.
Dead square.
It's dead square. And that's why I use the top of this board.
Dead square. And it's low.
We could have rounded off the top of this. But I kept this square so that when I finish, the face is still square.
Hit a shot real quick. Like hit 2 shots. I want to watch the hands going forward because you need to. They need to see the hands lead. Yeah. Like it just goes. It just goes. It just like crisp. And that's that contact. That's that contact. That sound of the ball that you're looking for.
Here's the other thing that's interesting. I do this in
schools. And look at the little divot.
Yep.
Like the little teeny divot. Like just getting
down.
It's not chunked. It's just crisp.
Now I'm gonna do something else here. I'm gonna put a golf ball right in front, like that's down the target line.
Okay.
So that maybe they can see it on the camera there.
Cool.
So I got a golf ball back here, and I got one right down the target line. Now I'm gonna hit a shot, and look where the club went.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead
it's
square.
Right down the square.
Yeah.
But it's on the target line. So you didn't see it do this.
Right.
Or you didn't see it go here.
Fascinating.
So it went down the line.
I love that.
That's how that shows I'm maintaining that distance and getting down the line. Because notice, when I take it back now, as I'm flexing both knees towards that toe on the downswing, I'm allowing this shoulder to drop under. That shoulder to drop under allows the hands to go down.
Yeah.
Which you see, so the next mistake you see in golfers, I'll move this over a little bit, is they create speed by doing this and pulling out. Well, the second they pull out, shoulders are opening up, the hands are pulling in, the head's going across away from the target. Well, now they're leaning with the head of the club, or leaning with the heel of the club. I'm trying to create hinge and then down with the hands through the target.
Got it.
So now I can get the hands straight down the line. So when I finish, I'll give the checkpoints here. So I sit up over this chip. Okay, I hit a chip.
Wow, the spin of that ball was so pure.
I'll do one more here, and I'll hit a chip where I'll bring that ball right down the target line here for you. Okay, but I'm going to hold the finish for you. I'm going to show you some checkpoints. Okay? So now here's my checkpoints. Checkpoint number 1, hands are leading.
Yep.
So the back of the wrist here is flat. Checkpoint number 2, face is still square. It's hard to see in the camera, there's a little bit of shaft lean. Checkpoint number 3, I got space created right here.
Yep.
So I didn't flip or cast in here, I created space, that's the shaft lean. Checkpoint number 4, both knees are flexed still, and they're actually flexed more now towards that lead toe.
Got it.
Which,
weight on lead toe.
Right, and as you make impact in the full swing, same thing. So I'm mimicking that full swing position here. So now knees are flexed, feet are down, obviously, flexed forward. Because the mistake you see is the golfer's doing this, but here's the problem. The arms will always follow the shoulders.
Right.
So if I open up the shoulders, where are my arms going to go?
Yeah.
And that's why Mo said, I'm the only guy who throws it this way. Because remember, Mo, and I love when Mo do demos like this. Mo, he did this all the time. You remember the demos. He'd say, this is me. And then he'd say, this is you.
Yeah.
And then we'd sit there and everybody laugh and giggle. But what he's saying is, your shoulders are open and wide open. Where's your hands going to go? So he'd say, this is me. I feel like I tossed underhand towards the hole. That's the same thing I feel here. I turn back, I go underhand towards the hole, keeping shaft lean, keeping the face square.
Yeah. So you created, one of the things that we've done with the company in long game and short game is we think that people, and I don't want to be rude about it, but we think people are really bad at practicing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they practice things incorrectly, and then they go out there and they do it wrong for so long, they get good at doing it badly.
Right.
So we try to create really simple training products that make sure all those fundamentals, walk me through this training aid real quick, because all the fundamentals are on it.
Well, it's a pretty simple training aid, but First thing we talked about, that's your stance, the width of your stance is C. So chipping, pitching, and lob. We talked chipping.
So
here.
that's foot position.
Foot position, yeah. So foot position, here your stance, foot position. This is ball position.
Ball position, C for chip, P for pitch,
lob
L
shot,
for lob.
Right. So if you see here, the foot position's 10 degrees open.
And then target line.
Right. You got feet angled here. So as a reminder, every single time you have the feet at an angle, okay? And then what you have is you have a target line. So you actually shows where we're trying to get the club going down.
And then you put these lines in here for the square
of the face. Because the
then the hands leading.
Right. The number one mistake we see when golfers set up, so you got face alignment technology, or fat technology. We've got that, so the face stays square. Because the second golfers set up, they push their hands forward, they open up the face of the club.
And then you got the foot markings to indicate the feet being open.
Right. That's exactly what it's so it's just a template.
And then, this is your short game by design stuff, all the stuff you design for the short game.
And then the leading edge in this, it's even there for a reason, so that you actually, when you finish, you hold the finish square. Now, if you went past it, it might close up a little bit, but it's a great template. Never do you see the club face closed up when you come to that, every single time. But it's a template that reminds you every single time. And I mean, I'll pull it out and use it a lot because there's check system. If you notice, the other thing I did is when I started with a golf ball, maybe 3 inches from the board, when I finished, the club head was still 3 inches from the board. I didn't yank it inside, yank it out. If you don't have a template down there, you'd never know that.
Right.
So
the other thing too, one of the things about the stuff we make is that I want something that I can move around pretty easily and it's heavy enough to sit on the ground. I don't want lots of moving parts.
Right.
It's too many moving parts.
And and so to sit here right now, set this thing up towards the target, okay? And we do this in schools. Not even put a golf ball down. To just set up and say, now I'm one club head away from that, okay? And to just sit up and practice this.
Just hold. You do it at home.
Do it at home. Just literally sit here and do this and practice this. Make a little divot and go down that line. So you're not seeing it go in here, you're not seeing it go out here, you're not seeing it close up. So to sit it, because here's what happens. The second you put a golf ball down, okay, and we hit a golf ball, every bit of reaction turns into that golf ball. Where did it go? And in fact, most guys sit here and stare at it like this.
Don't hold the finish.
Now, I don't put a golf ball down. Where's my check system? I'm looking for space, flat wrist, butt into the club's up the arm, both knees are flexed, foot's down, face is square to the target, same distance. I can check that again and again. I can do this again and again, checking that position versus when I hit a ball and I lose focus of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's the template we have here.
That's great.
So the other thing is that, and that's the other thing, and someday we'll do a lot of research on this, but golfers, probably the biggest mistake when they're chipping on their setup is this. They'll put the club face down. So let's say I didn't have the template here. They will push their hands forward and it opens up the face.
Yeah.
And they had no idea it's open. And then what they do is they hit a chip and it goes to the right. Okay, or left for lefty. Well, they don't know the face is open. They have nothing to check it compared to. So now they start pulling it.
Path.
So now they start changing the path and go across. And the second they do that, now they're creating a slice in their full swing or a shank in their chip, or there's all kinds of problems they're having. Well, that was the point of this template. Now we set this down, we put a ball down right here, or you don't have to use a ball. You squared up the back of that board. Now we push our hands forward and keep it square.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I would bet 75% of our students, the first time we put one of these down for them in front, and they go, that's closed. They go, it's closed. So every single time they're chipping and face is open. They go, and we go, no, it's not closed. It's just hooded a little bit. They go, it's not closed, it's hooded. They say, they say every single time. It's de-lofted. They go, it's de-lofted. Okay, but they'll say it's hooded or it's closed. Nope. It's actually de-lofted. Yep. And so now they'll set up and they have a chance to actually hit a good chip.
One thing I noticed when you chip target too, and the angle of your right wrist, like your lead hand's firm, but this angle never changes.
It actually increases a little bit.
Increases. Yeah. So show it one more time. Kind of go slow motion. I know you probably can't chip it slow motion, but
so it actually increases.
So set up again.
Okay.
You're setting with an angle already into the wrist.
Yep.
And then watch that angle. You go back, and then when you go.
So it hinges a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead and chip it. And see, look at it, it's increased.
It's increased.
It's increased.
It's increased.
That's a big deal.
That's how you keep the hands on the line. That's how you keep the face square. And honestly, I know when you talk about a full swing, but that same type motion, you're increasing angle through impact, then releasing past.
Well, in full swing, it's there at impact, and then you extend it. But in chipping, you're just not extending it.
Right. So we're holding that angle. That's big because what you'll see is most people that make the mistake do this.
Yeah.
And when they do this, the club's hitting an
and that's why I think your technique really is so good, because if you have that angle, you always have shaft lean.
Always shaft lean.
You always have shaft lean. You never.
We sat there and talked about hands leading. We still do it at schools. We talk about hands leading. But in about 6 months to 8 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, I started saying hands leading, shaft lean, hands leading, shaft lean. And I started seeing maybe a little bit better results for saying shaft lean, because when you say hands leading, what's that mean to somebody when they're here? But when they can look down and still see shaft lean in that.
Yeah, do that again.
Okay.
Because that's when I so when you're looking down, you see how the shaft's hanging back like that.
Right.
I've done it with my teaching too. I start talking more of what they should see as far as
and
because that creates that hands leading. Yeah.
Because remember, every shot in golf has shaft lean, and every shot in the short game has dramatic shaft lean.
Yeah.
Putting, chipping, pitching, bunker. If you don't have shaft lean and bunker, you have shaft lean and pit chipping, you have no shot.
Right.
And shaft lean creates the lift, shaft lean compression. The whole that's
that sound that I hear. That's that sound.
Because when you hear that the click, that's the shaft lean.
That's the
When you flip it, you hear a thud, or you hear a it's a different sound. yeah, it's a different sound.
Yeah.
You're trying to maintain that shaft lean. In fact, ideally, increase the shaft lean.
Yeah.
I'd rather have people increase it than decrease it. Increase it, it's just going to hit a little sharper shot.
Yeah.
And off very tight. There's no lie you can't hit auto without a shaft lean. It's like, let's say you had a great player go out on the golf course, and Lee Let Westwood. He's on the 72nd hole of the tournament that he won, the last one he won, and he hit it in a divot. And he gets up over this divot. He increased shaft lean to hit the shot.
Yeah.
He just increased shaft lean. If he lost shaft lean, he'd have fat it into the water.
Yeah.
So think about it. Anytime you get nervous, you get antsy, it's a tough shot. Good players increase shaft lean.
Yeah.
Which increases compression, is better angle, especially in the short game, because you have less time to make up for it here.
Right.
It's such a short little shot that you don't have time to make up for it. You can lean maybe a little forward.
One final thing, speaking of that, acceleration.
Yeah.
So talk acceleration.
Acceleration is a big deal, and acceleration in 99% of the times because they take the club too far back.
Yeah.
So if I had this
that's like if you ask any of our instructors,
right,
and say what's the worst thing we see in pitching and chipping,
right,
they're like deceleration.
Right. Remember, acceleration creates lift, creates spin, and also gets you out of the shot. It makes you lean. But we see guys that get over the shot. It's just going that same plane. If I took it back to here, I mean, I could hit that to that tree back there.
Your brain goes.
My brain says that's too much. I know it, and I'm going to stop. As you stop, that's when, in the hands slow down, the weight of the club head goes ahead of the hands. You lose shaft lean, and that causes the blades, fat.
So, would you recommend too short, longer?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, play a game, and the game is how short can I take it back and accelerate through.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Play a game. In fact, that's how I became really good at pitching the ball.
Show me the shortest backstroke you got. Hit this shot.
Yeah, you literally play the game, and play the game. I mean, that's, see how short you can take it back.
I agree. That's a great
play the game really short and go.
Look at that. Yeah, acceleration. Look at that. It's perfect.
And what'll happen is, and this is how it leads to the full swing. You know that guys get out there and they take too long of a swing and they break the lead arm down because they think they take it so far back. You become really good at compression here in a short swing. Your body will relate that to a full swing. You realize you can get shorter and hit a good shot.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's probably the highlight of the day. It's just short.
Right.
Compress, short, compress.
Well, and that's why we talk.
Hold.
That's why we talk about the two birds. Because if we're gonna have brand new golfer training or somebody that's really working on this, I'm gonna start putting down the line. I'm gonna start chipping with compression on the line. I'm gonna start acceleration with the pitch, and then work into the full swing. Because it's all hands down the line, hands towards the target. Now we exaggerate the body open a little bit because we don't swing as hard or as much, in the short game. But it's still acceleration with the shaft lean. Because here's a question for you: if somebody doesn't have shaft lean in a chip, or doesn't have shaft lean in a pitch, what's the chance they're going to have in a full swing?
They won't.
They won't.
It's same with their putting.
Yeah,
it's just all the same.
It's all the same.
People understand how the ball is compressed.
Right. And that's why
it goes throughout the game.
But when you have a chip that you're hitting 30 miles an hour, or a pitch you're hitting 40 miles an hour, versus a swing you're hitting 80 miles an hour, where are you going to train?
Well, the other thing too, one thing that I know that you practice, I do the same thing, is I don't give myself good lies.
No.
I don't give myself good lies. Because a little fluffy lie, you can get away with a lot.
In fact, when I'm working with students, there's many times I'll step over a chip and I'll actually step on it.
Yeah.
And knock it down. Yeah. It's not a bad drill because it makes you go down at it.
I always give myself bad lies because it makes you have to get compression on the ball.
Too many golfers who give the perfect lie. I mean, you saw, I put that one back. I put that one back in the divot there. What's that?
How many perfect lies are you getting around?
No, none.
Zero. Well, on the tee, maybe.
A round ball is always going to roll to the slowest spot.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, a round ball is going to roll to the slowest spot. I mean, that's why in the tour they talk about should they let guys hit out divots in the 72nd hole like Lee Westwood had, because the round balls, and there's more divots in that fairway when he got up there.
Yeah.
But I just stuck that in a divot. Well, naturally, I'm going to sit here and say, okay, I got to get a really strong angle and be aggressive and hit down to hit out of that divot.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, so.
Hey, Tim and I used to practice off cart paths.
Oh yeah.
We used because go practice off a cart path. What the club, it's going to bounce, so you got to get lane in that thing.
Right. Well, the last school we had was really kind of cool. It was an alumni camp. And a couple of the students said, you know, especially our alumni, I like to exaggerate and say, you know, like, aim small, miss small. You know, it's like use our throw hole, you know, aim small, miss small. And they said, well, how would you aim small, miss small on a chip? And I said, it's real easy. It's like I did with my son. I put pennies on the driveway and said, chip pennies.
Yeah.
And if you can chip pennies off a driveway, you have to have shaft lean. I said, take an old club but you have to have shaft lean. You have to have the hands leading. And you got to hit a really small spot.
Small.
Yeah, small. But
Small.
if you flip the hands, the bottom of the club, you won't hit with the leading edge.
You miss it.
So it's hitting pennies off a driveway. And there's your aim small, miss small.
Wow.
So anyway,
Cool.
yep.
Thanks for joining me,
Yep.
Tim.
Yep.
As always, great.
Yep.
Thanks for joining the channel today. By the way, I'll put a link to the short game ABT. If you guys are interested in that, I'll put a link below if you wanted to purchase that. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share this with your friends because we all want everybody to have a great short game.